Hi, everybody. This is Caroline Sotheby, and welcome to Up, Down, and Around Town. And of course, we've been busy. City's been busy. Volunteers have been coming out and helping. And one thing that happened last Saturday, they had the shredding cycle group down at the city parking lot, and they were well prepared. I was surprised at how many people actually came, and look what they did. They just kept on putting the articles in there, and they had a nice day. It was nice and sunshiny. Then you can see they even had help along the way, looking at all the containers. I don't know if they got them all full, but at least they had the group there, and it was convenient. And so it was beginning, hey, spring cleanup time. That was one help. Another thing that happened down the city is the volunteers went out, and here's your group that ended up at First and Elm Street. They said that they had about 70 volunteers outside of their only commissioned group. And Sunday night, when I went through town, I noticed an awful lot of tall garbage bags. Monday, when I finally got up and thought, oh, I'd go with the camera and give you an insight of how many garbage bags there actually were, they were all gone. DPW does a beautiful thing. As long as we're on the Earth Day thing, I gotta tell you, I went to the library and we got some of these things still available there. And I know they're probably getting new ones because of another week. Another way of extending the Earth Day is this Friday. If you go to FOP about 9 o'clock, 9:30, you will see, hopefully, quite a few volunteers coming there to plant some trees. So anyway, in that subject and in that vein, I happened to be, like I said, at the library, and I came across with this information, which is very informative, and I have to go to the guest because she called this morning and said, hey, will you come on? And so thank you for coming, Mary. Mary Jana is?
Mary Jana.
Okay. Anyway, hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Do you do most of the paper writing, or it's pretty well sourced out?
We have a few volunteers who do the writing. I am one of them. I do the letter to the press and Wandering Oakwood.
Okay.
So Wandering Oakwood is a story about a person or family in Oakwood Cemetery who is buried there, or maybe they have been moved.
Okay, so that's okay. So that was the Wandering Steelers in
That
this
is
one.
a Steeler family, yes.
Okay. Before we got on, I had asked her, and I got to find out, how did you actually get involved with the museum, first of all, and Oakwood Cemetery?
So when I was in high school, there was this big, beautiful Victorian house that was going to be torn down. So I wrote a letter to the city council, and the Antoine Labadie house was moved eventually. Shirley Pergoski gave me a phone call and said, if you'd like a tour of the museum, I would love to give you one.
Really?
So I went. And this was 2009. I'm still in high school at this time. And she said, how about you come volunteer with me? Okay,
Sure.
sure.
Could talk people into doing it.
She talked me into it. I've been there since.
Okay.
And then about 2 years ago, I got a call. Hey, would you like to help with the Oakwood Cemetery? Sure. I would love to help. And I've been at Oakwood for 2 years now.
And there's a lot of work there all the time.
A lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, you could see how the flower beds were cleaned up over the weekend just because of the group coming there. You're going to have a set day now for that cleanup. When is that going to be?
We have our cleanup on May 14th at 9 a.m.
Okay. And the best thing to do, just come out to the cemetery?
Just show up and prepare to get dirty.
Okay, sure. Why not? But it's a vast area, and you have an awful lot of bedding. When I was there last year, I noticed before I left there was a group by the corner of the fence where they were digging, and they were actually getting items out of the ground. Did
So-
they ever find out what was there?
We came up with some bricks, just layered
Yeah.
bricks. And that's when you know, okay, you have to stop digging. Because they would put bricks on top of the caskets to weigh it down because of the flooding in the cemetery is so
Yeah.
bad, the bodies rise. So they'd have 2 or 3 layers of brick on top of the coffin. And when you hit brick, nope, you're done.
You're
Put the
done.
dirt back.
Okay,
dirt
so
back.
that's as far as you
That's
get
as
then.
far as we're going.
Okay, so now, what type of work would you be having at the cemetery anyway?
So it varies. Minimal, we could do planting, weeding, just depending on who it is. Last year we had some of the high school students plant trees, and some of the older people who aren't capable of digging in the dirt planting trees sat at the bench area and helped paint it.
Okay,
So,
all right.
a variety of things. We had the Boy Scout troops in there pulling weeds, putting flowers in. This year we are weeding the back corner and going to put a pumpkin patch in the cemetery.
You are?
Yes,
How
to
about
generate
that?
a little bit of income for the cemetery in hopes of eventually getting a drainage system.
I know somebody put it on Facebook, was it last week, showing how that one corner, the front corner, was completely down with water. And you can't really solve that right now.
No. We do have ground penetrating radar going into the cemetery this year.
Okay.
It is estimated that there's around 1,800 people buried in Oakwood, but because records were destroyed, we don't know where everybody is. So once the radar goes in there, it will actually be able to pinpoint and tell us how many people they can find.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I know last year the FOP was taking care of an area like to the right of
In the
your
front are
entrance.
unknown headstones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go in there and they will clean the area up, and if it needs to be lawn mowed, they will mow the lawn for us. But those
Okay.
are headstones that have been found in the corner, found under brush. There were 2 found in the shed over there.
Really?
Yeah. Once they get destroyed by a lawnmower, they throw them in the shed.
Okay.
Actually, this year, I got a call from the museum and said, hey, we found a headstone in the basement.
Really?
It belongs to Oakwood Cemetery. I said, oh.
Another one.
Okay. So I show up to the museum to look at this headstone, which is in about, I don't know, probably 150 pieces. I mean, you can't see anything. But a 23 in 1898.
Really?
I said, all right, well, I'm going to go through all my records and see who was either born on the 23rd of 1898 or died on the 23rd of 1898. And going through all the records, I ended up pinpointing it is Henry Flashian. He was a 3-month-old baby boy who died and was put into Oakwood Cemetery.
Really? Wow.
So,
But that's thrilling when you can actually solve something and you say, I know it doesn't pertain to this, but it reminds me of something I saw on Facebook yesterday where a couple were fishing, what they normally do, and as she was skinning it and that, she found items in the fish, and she pulled out, it was a gold necklace, and pulled something out, and she said, wow. So they went and had taken some fish, put it in the freezer, so they took them out, and the second, third, and fourth didn't have anything, but the last one did. And it happened to have a wedding ring. And with that wedding ring, there was initials and a date and that. So they got into the books and found out it was a couple like 3 states away. And they called and said, are you so-so-so? Yeah. And they made a contact with them. And it happened that the gold necklace that was in the first fish was actually the woman's. So you never know what you're going to come up with.
well, that is a cool thing about the cemetery. Everybody has a story. And right now they have been untold and just locked in the back corner for years. And right now we're trying to get their stories out there, who they were. There's legislators, mayors, seamstresses buried in Oakwood, but nobody knows their story. I can trace 7 families to the Salem witch trials.
Really?
Yeah, which is pretty fascinating.
I bet. Okay, so what are you going to do with all that information? Is that the reason for the?
That is the reason for Wandering Oakwood, to expose some of their stories, and hopefully people will get a glimpse into how they lived back then.
Yeah, it's sure different than what we have now. Yeah.
Very different.
Okay, I noticed, I have to mention this because you had this, I've never heard of that before. I've heard of dandelions and making wine, but what is that?
So purple nettle is a weed, and it grows in your garden in abundance. I mean, you can walk outside right now and probably find it right on the corner. It is everywhere. It is high in vitamin A and K and C and all your vitamins. It doesn't really have a good taste, so we put it with garlic and we make pesto, and my kids love it.
All right.
Anything with garlic, my kids love.
Okay.
So just, add as much garlic as you want. I suggested on the recipe, I think 5 cloves. I used about 8 to 10.
Oh, wow, you.
We really like garlic in my house.
Okay, so if somebody wants to get, I know the library still had some there, and it's this issue. How often well, according to this,
We have a monthly newsletter.
it's a monthly, yeah. So what's coming in May now? Do you know, or can't we?
I do know. So May is the Mother's Day article, and we are also talking about our veterans.
Okay, all right. That's your next project, right?
That is my next project. So right now we have been working on finding all of the Civil War veterans from Wyandotte, and it has
Okay.
been a tedious task. And we have used newspaper records. Marty Bertera pulled all the GAR records from the state of Michigan, and we are trying to compile a list of Civil War veterans. That way
Wow.
they have the recognition they deserve.
Oh, yeah, because right now they're concentrating on the second plaque for the World War II vets that were excluded basically from the first one, so.
My project started when I got a call that said, hey, do you know how many Civil War veterans are buried in Oakwood? Well, I don't really know because we don't have records. So let me tell you what I do know. And I gave them a list of 7 names. And that list has grown to 11 names now because I
Really?
have found records that say, okay, this person is buried there, but they don't have a headstone. Okay, well, they are a military veteran, so they are entitled to a headstone. So we have actually applied for 3 headstone replacements for broken headstones or missing headstones in there.
Really?
So we should have them this year.
Oh, who takes care of the cost of it? The government?
So the government, any veteran is entitled to a headstone. The headstone is paid for by the government. The placement of the stone comes out of your pocket.
Okay.
But we do have a great restoration guy who comes into the cemetery, and he does our headstone restoration clinics, and he will do our headstones free of charge.
Wow, okay. So there's a lot more behind those doors than what we think.
There's a lot of, yes, behind the scenes projects.
Yeah. I know Jesse was supposed to be on, and he said, we are busy this week. And I said, okay. So you, fortunately or unfortunately, answered the phone, and here you are. How can somebody actually join as a volunteer? I mean, do you need help there on certain days? Or?
So for the cemetery, I normally just post it on Facebook for volunteers. We do have a newsletter, but that's like once a year. You'll get an email with tentative dates, but with the rain, everything is subject to change. Oakwood floods horribly. So normally we push the dates back a couple weeks or whenever we can get it in there.
Yeah.
But Facebook is the best source for volunteering at the cemetery.
Okay. We know one thing, that the artists are coming to the home this Sunday.
Yes, at the museum they have the art show.
Yeah. Now, have you ever gone there to see who was there? Or?
So at one point they used to do the art show in the Marks home.
Yeah.
And then they had, I believe it was the same day as the tea.
Oh, really?
And so I'd go back and forth to buy some art and enjoy my, actually, pie and ice cream. And get my piece of pie and have my ice cream and go back and forth. Yeah.
But they're having the pie this
We are
year.
having the pie and ice cream. It is June 26th.
June 26th?
Yes.
Okay. Because that used to be famous and sit along the porch and...
It is a very peaceful place. I can find myself falling asleep with a book.
Okay, for some people that you want to celebrate Earth Day yourself, or in a sense, I picked this up, and I think we had it on one of our programs back in the January, first part of January, because that's where I picked it up. It's Alliance of Downriver Sheds, Watersheds. And if you like to take pictures, so take your best shot, we'll have Asian prizes. Now, in April, I better go through this. April, snap a photo that depicts spring rain, and the prize given to somebody would be a $100 gift card from Riverside Kayak Connection in Wyandotte. In May, snap a photo of a stream, a pond, a river, or other waterway. And that prize is a full-day paddle trip for two from H2E River Adventures in Flat Rock. And on that thing on the bottom, it says, focus on rain gardens. That's something new, but that's another story, right? In June, snap a photo growing flowers or garden, and that prize for that month is a $100 gift card from Westcroft Gardens in Grosseal. So it's downriver. It is basically everything that, and they're pretty shots. I mean, these people actually do have some good photo shots, and I don't know how they would determine who the winner would be, but I guess they got a group that are just like any other thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so for anything else that we can, did I mention? Oh yeah, the planting of the trees Friday at FOP. That's between 9 and 9:30 in the morning. And usually that goes very well. I've seen it, a couple of years ago they had our Joe Peterson tree that was by the police department, plus the other two, Vitkoski, and I can't pronounce the name of the other one. It started with S, and I'm sorry. Last year, they were in between the boat club and the golf course, where they usually have volleyball, and they had a stream of trees laid out over there. And this time, it's at FOP, and a lot of things going on in the city that we all don't know about, you know?
I do. We put in 8 trees at Oakwood last year.
8, yeah.
8 trees, 4 pawpaws trees, which most people don't know about. The pawpaw was a native fruit to North America, and they have kind of become obsolete in this area. But they are one thing that attract the zebra swallowtail, which is on the verge of extinction.
Really?
I believe that's the right butterfly. Yeah. So you will get a fruit about 5 to 6 inches, and they call it the poor man's banana. It tastes between a banana and a mango.
No kidding. Well, where did you get the trees if they're almost extinct?
We got seeds from a farm in Owasso.
Oh, really?
Yep. And one of the guys who helps at the cemetery, I call him the tree man. He is a whiz with all gardening and trees. So he started them from seeds in his garage, and
Really?
yeah, they grew. We sold 14 plants at Hood's Hardware last year. We have been doing plant days at Hood's. We've been sprouting our own trees and herbs and other things and selling them to generate a little bit of income for the cemetery. We also put a tree nursery in the back corner of the cemetery, so we can actually grow our trees in there and then sell them out of the cemetery.
Well,
So
you
it
have to
pays
go
for our
almost with the
restoration.
camera with that and get an idea how they're progressing.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take for a tree to just sprout out and look halfway decent to plant?
For a pawpaw, it's about 2 years before you can actually plant it into the ground.
Really?
And it takes 5 years before you'll bear fruit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where are they planted right now?
They are by the Clark family. They are actually planted into the cemetery now. That's where they will remain. And they don't grow very big, maybe 15 feet. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Pawpaw.
pawpaw.
Well, you're from the museum. So what other information can you give us that we're not familiar with? A lot?
Oh, there's a lot. I studied history at U of M and kind of downward spiraled with foraging. I love to forage. That's why there's the Dead Nettle article. But we use dandelions and any native fruits that you can find. So one of the other cool things about Oakwood, it is considered a wildlife habitat now. So it means we are a no spray zone. We do not spray for mosquitoes or pesticides, which kind of sucks because the mosquitoes are horrible in there.
Yeah.
But it helps the wildlife. So we do have hawks nesting in the corner. Yeah. And bats now. So
I used to see bats when I used to do the concession stand at Memorial Park, and we'd shut off all the lights and start going home, and you'd go.
we got bat houses to keep the mosquitoes out.
Okay.
So, and there's plants that we can put in there to help. Last year, my son and I planted 150 bulbs of garlic in the cemetery, which will also help with the mosquitoes. And we do love our garlic.
Of course, that helps with.
And vampires, you know.
They what?
I said, we'll keep the vampires out of there, too.
Okay, all right. Oh, gee. Hey, I appreciate you coming. I bet you got a lot of stories, and I don't know how much time. We're probably getting close to it. Anyway, as a repeat, the artists are coming this weekend.
Yes.
Which house, though?
They are, I believe, at the McNichol home this year.
McNichol? Okay. The date for Oakwood Cemetery?
May 14th.
Okay.
And we do have our field trip to the River Raisin Battlefield. That is on May 7th. That is a reservation, and if you'd like to reserve a spot, go onto Facebook, and there is details how to do that, or pick up your newsletter article.
Okay.
We still have, I think, 10 spots available.
Okay. What do they actually have there? Is it just an open field, or do they have?
So they do have the battlefield, but they have been working on a multi-million-dollar project, a new museum exhibit.
Really?
Yes, and it is supposed to be fascinating. I've only got glimpses of what is inside, but this is a behind-the-scenes tour before their grand opening.
Okay. So you'll have to let us know more about what's happening, and okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I hope you enjoy some of this information. It's new to me, and I know it's got to be new to you. Enjoy Earth Day, even it was a couple of weeks ago, because it's always extending. You keep taking care of your lawn, your gardening, and like John had been on the program last week, I'm sorry. If you have a beautiful escape area, or taking care of the front part of the house with plenty of trees and flowers and that, you might get a little beautification award. So that's something to look forward to. Anyway, thanks for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time on Up, Down, and Around Town. Bye-bye now.